So this video is not a tutorial, more of a brief explanation of how I used an airbrush and airbrush paints to create the ombre effect on the bottom of the skirt. The original costume design credit goes to Hannah Alexander, and this is her Mercy design from Overwatch. I did some dye testing and it went pretty well, but because the skirt is so voluminous, I didn't think I would be able to control the gradient very well. So I thought I'd give airbrushing it a try. I used Cratex airbrush colors and a $20 airbrush that I ordered from Amazon and got to work. I started with a light yellow near the top of the skirt. At first it was so light the camera didn't really pick it up, but as I continued to add pigment to the fabric, the yellow started to show more and more. At the start of this project, I was really optimistic that this was going to be the single greatest creation of my life. And then the nozzle on my airbrush broke, and I had to replace it. That's when I realized that the airbrush I had purchased came with a few different nozzle sizes, 0.5 millimeters being the largest. So I switched the teeny broken nozzle with the larger nozzle and immediately noticed a huge difference. The paint was flowing better and more evenly, and then when I added more thinner to my paint mix, it really started brushing on well. And then I took a step back to admire my work, and I honestly thought I had ruined my dress and wasted a whole bunch of time and money, but I figured, I might as well just keep going. Eventually, I ran out of paint and had to order more. So, if you plan on airbrushing a dress or fabric similar to this, then I would definitely recommend purchasing more paint, paint thinner, and airbrush cleaner than you think you need, because it goes really fast when you figure out what works best for you and you just start flying through supplies. When I thought the yellow looked right, I cleaned my airbrush and switched colors, moving on to the orange. This was the end result for day one, and you can see what I mean when I say that I thought I had ruined my dress. It looks pretty rough. I ended up adding some red to the orange paint to make it last a little longer because I wanted to at least get a base coat down before packing up for the day. I brought all of my supplies home and set the dress up on my mannequin, and I left it overnight. And by the morning time, the colors had settled a little bit, and some of the cloudy brush strokes had faded into each other, and it started looking much better. After about 24 hours, I ironed the painted fabric, and I placed a cotton cloth in between the painted fabric and my iron for extra protection. And ironing it helped lock the paint in, and it really kind of smoothed over the paint texture. After about a week, I was able to find another location that would let me use their space to paint in. It is the dead of winter where I live while I was working on this project, and you really can't spray paint outside successfully when it's this cold. So luckily a local junior high let me use their wood shop to spray in, and they even turned the heat on, which helped a lot. So I just kept spraying and spraying. It's kind of hard to explain exactly how to do it, because once you try a few different techniques and a few different brush strokes, you get the hang of it pretty quickly, and you start to see what you can do to make it look the way you want it to look. I also ended up spraying the inside of the dress because there was going to be a slit up the side of it, and so I didn't want it just to be white on the inside. Okay, let's talk texture. The paint does leave a little bit of a gritty texture on the fabric, but that's fairly uniform, so for me it wasn't much of a problem. Airbrushing fabric using the Cratex pearlized colors leaves a pretty pearl shiny effect on the paint and the fabric. However, the gold sparkles you can see in this video come from a sparkle spray paint that I sprayed on the fabric after airbrushing it, not the airbrush paints themselves. The fabric I chose for this dress is a spandex lycra, and it naturally has a nice weight to it. It drapes really well, which is why I chose it for this particular cosplay. And even though both sides of the fabric are well painted and pretty saturated in paint, the drape of the dress is virtually unaffected. Here you can see how both sides of the fabric have been airbrushed. And this is because in the original Hannah Alexander Mercy design, there is a large slit up the front, and I didn't want there to be like a white background on the inside of the fabric. This is the finished color gradient. I really don't think I would have been able to achieve this smooth of a color transition by dip dyeing the dress. I'm so glad I tried this technique, and I'm even happier that it actually worked as well as it did. Leave any questions in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more information on this cosplay, follow us on Instagram at Rebel Girls Cosplay.